Hi, my name is Randy Taylor. I'm the A&R program leader at Oklahoma State University and the vice chair of the A&R committee. I'm going to share with you a few things that the A&R group has learned in the last few months in the light of this pandemic. Webinars and online courses are something everybody's done a lot of. I think we know our traditional audience prefers our face-to-face meetings, but we found in a lot of cases that our attendance is much greater at some of the webinars that we've had, as well as we're looking at some online courses that can be used to support participants who maybe work long hours or have limited days off and can't make it to those face-to-face meetings. Gardening is always a big part of A&R programming in every state in the region. Using online technology and videos and home lessons allowed us to continue training master gardeners and allowed those master gardeners to interact with each other in a safe environment of their homes. Field days are always a big part of agriculture programming, and virtual field days are something that's everybody's been a part of. A lot of states were doing these ahead of the pandemic, but probably improved some skills later. The Milan No-Till Field Day in Tennessee is probably one of the largest field days in the country, and it was 100% virtual this year with over 80 videos produced at the field day and 14,000 views, in 21 states and 24 countries. So a huge undertaking. And then also had recertification and certified crop advisor credits that we'll talk about a little later. Variety field days are always a big a part of our state's programming. Producers like to see the varieties. They like to walk through them and see how they're responding to the environment they're in. But we certainly learned a lot about doing virtual field days and things that can enhance future field days, whether they're face-to-face or virtual. And a lot of that's going to be incorporating video into those field days. My favorite probably was a virtual strawberry field walk, where walked through the field and then actually looked at the different varieties of strawberries and got the close-ups of what the diseases were looking like, the pest pressure, what the berries were looking like as well. And so it was just a really a valuable time, I think, that was spent with that. Even live broadcasts, either through Facebook Live or other options, but dabbled in those, and there was some successes and also some learning points. A lot of our offices were closed or at least restricted during the pandemic, and some still are to a certain level, but we've created drop boxes. Our labs were all running on campus for the most part, with our diagnostic labs and our testing labs. So we had to find a way to get samples to those labs, and the drop boxes were one way that we were doing that. Even have a lot of counties that are probably going to continue to run drop boxes just as a convenience for the clientele. So again, something we'd never done before, but something we'll probably continue in the future. One of the challenges with any online type programming is for certified education units has been verifying identity of the individual, especially for some of the pesticide related training. So I've used pop-up questions that ask for a applicator's license number, birth date, so some identifying factor right in the middle of the presentation, and then mandatory registration for Zoom meetings with a survey link that's shared afterwards asking for that license information. So doing different things to try to, again, verify the identity of the individual that's actually taking the training. So I look forward to spending a few days this week talking with my colleagues about some of the successes, some of the things that they've learned, and some of the things that we can all do better. Thank you for your time.
Hi, this is Stacy McCullough reporting on behalf of the Community Development Committee. When our work environment changed almost overnight, we scrambled to ensure employees had all they needed to work from home. Broadband access and reliability issues forced investments in hotspots and MiFis, required some people to return to the office and others to simply make do as best they could. Some states reshuffled responsibilities or reduced programs due to hiring freezes, pulled positions, and budget cuts. We embraced new methods of communication, coordination, and morale boosting, including regular email updates, video conferences, virtual coffee hours, trivia sessions, and other team building activities. We reimagined our programs to focus primarily on virtual delivery methods. This included new COVID-specific web pages, as well as creating and adding content to existing pages. Content has taken many different forms, such as publications, articles, blog posts, infographics, and videos. Social media is used to push relevant, time-sensitive information out to the public. We utilize live webinars and virtual meetings to engage with clientele and program partners. Often these are recorded for subsequent viewing. We expanded our portfolio of online courses to provide more remote learning opportunities. The pandemic motivated many of us to get more serious about collaborating with others to support state and local needs. New partnerships between states, with other organizations, and within our own universities across disciplines enabled us to offer new programs such as mini grants to support small businesses. Community development professionals have responded to many needs directly related to COVID-19. Examples include supporting agricultural and other small businesses and workers, assessing impacts of COVID-19 on local governments, explaining state and federal policies and conducting economic analyses to inform policy, examining social and economic disparities related to COVID-19, providing education on financial management, work-life balance, health, and safety, and finally, programming that focuses on resilience and innovation and supports decision making. Despite being in a pandemic, the world didn't stop spinning, and we continue to address other needs. Calls to eliminate systemic inequality and racism are strong. Election year political tensions are high. These and other factors have led to programs to facilitate civil dialogue. COVID-19 has created challenges for the 2020 census, and Extension is working hard to ensure everyone is counted. Tropical storms, tornadoes, and other natural disasters keep coming, and we keep responding. We also continue to offer many of our traditional programs, including to new audiences who found us because of the pandemic. Despite the challenges of 2020, we've positively impacted the economy. We've built community capacity through new alliances, strategic planning and action, and leadership development. Our work has resulted in nearly $50 million in grants and contributions to support community and economic development across the South. Like the thousands of Extension professionals across the U.S., we've clearly shown that we can rise to any challenge to fulfill our mission and make a positive impact in our world.
Hi, this is Mike Gutter, Associate Dean for Extension and State Program Leader for 4-H Families and Communities at the University of Florida IFAS Extension. And I am the Family and Consumer Sciences Committee Chair and here to share with you an update about family and consumer sciences in the Southern region. So COVID-19 has had a pretty strong impact on all of us, as we all know, and our FCS across the Southern region has done a great job of moving a lot of our programming in our states virtual when possible. And there's been a lot of opportunities to do that across our programs. We've created many videos, fact sheets, and other resources that we've been able to share with each other and certainly with the general public. And a lot of opportunities to educate the public on health, hygiene, safety, parenting, childcare, so many things that people are having questions about right now. And a lot of us are being called on to address food security in many of our states, answering questions about delivery, about takeout, and all of those questions. A few interesting innovations we've seen are, number one, an online financial counseling using accredited financial counselors who are county-based FCS extension agents, and that's a really exciting opportunity from UF IFAS that's growing. We also have seen two programs focusing on physical activity with Walk Across Texas and a pilot of Let's Walk Florida, and these are great programs that we've been seeing. Additionally, Family and Consumer Sciences, along with Extension Administration, has been regularly communicating with health sciences on our campuses and using that information to share both with the public as well as with our own internal audiences as well. One major highlight I'd like to talk about is a major regional effort that took place in collaboration with the Clinical and Translational Science Award Program, the CTSA programs. Together, we submitted a $40 million proposal for NIH focusing on infrastructure to address racial disparities in COVID-19 testing. This project, which took a little bit of time to put together, would have provided funding to 60 CTSA programs, assigned 4 regional hubs for cooperative extension, with UF being the lead southern region, as well as an 1890 hub featuring Prairie View A&M. The funding would have been shared through these hubs to all LGUs across our different regions. So this was a great opportunity to work together, and something that those involved from health sciences would like to see additional proposals like this that really address it. The southern region in particular saw great opportunities to try and work and address some of these larger issues. I'd also like to mention too that we have grouping work of community advisory boards. And this is just an example of all of the different partners that were involved in this, with land grant extension programs in every state and territory, our national CTSA program hubs, and really focusing on the highly impacted communities we had across these regions. Our goals were to conduct formative research through focus groups working together, gather community preferences in doing that related to content such as topics, messages, framing, the types of approaches we should be looking for, as well as helping us to understand how to better increase our reach through addressing languages, the right media, the right platforms. Creating that content through collaboration, and then disseminating that content. And we would see this as being an iterative process over time. So FCS Extension has been very busy during this time. We're very proud of the work that we've been doing, and we appreciate the opportunity to share it with you all, and certainly feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you very much for your time.
The SR-PLN Information Technology Committee has had many challenges to overcome from the COVID-19 pandemic. The main challenge we all faced was moving to telework with little notice. This main challenge had many obstacles that would have to be solved. One of those obstacles was how to provide computers to everyone that was now having to telework. Another obstacle was accessing data, but since most of the users' data was already cloud-based, they were able to access it from any location. For employees who needed access to office resources, VPN was already in place or was deployed for users. Employees now had to go from in-person meetings to virtual meetings by using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and WebEx. Take a look at the next 2 slides for statistics and facts for the Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Internet access was another obstacle to overcome. For employees that did not have internet access, hotspots and MiFis were provided, which enabled them to have connectivity. To be able to provide the software and services employees needed to telework, software licensing was increased on existing platforms such as DocuSign, Zoom, Adobe, BombGuard, and Foxit Phantom PDF. Another obstacle was providing the technical support that employees would need for working from home. Employees needed various training and resources on transitioning to telework. To solve this obstacle, training sessions, online forums, emails, newsletters, tip sheets, and instructions were created to help the employees. Another challenge we faced was countering COVID-19 misinformation with research-driven facts for our clientele and employees. Since March, many resources have been created and developed for COVID-19 digital media and resources. Every day, we are looking into new and innovative methods to overcome the challenges we face from COVID-19 pandemic. As a group, we share these methods and learn from each other.
Good afternoon, I'm Blake Lanford, and I'm going to take a moment to speak to you briefly from the Middle Managers Committee on some of the common challenges we've had to face during COVID. So from hiring freezes and office closures to budget constraints and travel limitations, we've all had to deal with some pretty common challenges in the face of COVID. Some of these challenges are pretty large, whereby we're having to make broad determinations of how we return to work. Some are more finite, whereby we are trying to make determinations of security and safety for our staff. Nonetheless, the challenges are myriad. So in terms of the ways that we've adapted our work to these COVID challenges, at one point or another, we were all in kind of a triage mode. We were all trying to figure out how to deal with the immediacy of office closure. And then, once we stabilized that issue for our staff and our operations, we had to start really thinking about, all right, well, how do we work under these constraints? From the very beginning, I've tried to assert for my staff and others that more often than not, innovation is born out of necessity. And in spite of the fact that all too often our organizational identity is bound up in the physical places we work, the bricks and mortar, as opposed to the ways that we work, we can figure out other ways of doing business that take into consideration, the limitations that we have. So, the most common form of adaptation is virtual engagement. And, our staff has begun to sense that whether it's mandatory or whether they choose to do virtual engagement, it presents a real opportunity for Extension to really equalize access for our stakeholders who might have conventional limitations that kept them from participating in Extension activities before. The pandemic and our resulting responses have given us the opportunity to perhaps, and you might even say mandate, to determine another way to do effective public engagement. So, you know, this is nothing new for you guys, but, you know, Extension's an entity that's born out of 20th century needs to respond to, you know, 20th century economies and communities, and very often we use 20th century technologies. And in the past couple of decades, you know, we've started to really absorb and adapt to those changing dynamics. One of which is, you know, how do we work in a community or a nation that's impacted by a pandemic? And so, you know, back to the mandate idea, I think we need to build on our capacity to deliver on this mandate. You know, if not now, when are we going to have the opportunity to really figure out how to leverage the creative, adaptive spirit of the young folks that we employ and the technologies that are emerging today, so that we can really invest in the 21st century Extension? I do think it looks a little bit different for us moving forward. And if for nothing else but the sake of efficiencies and the ability to increase access and exposure to the solutions we offer, I really feel like we've got to use this opportunity to learn how to transform Extension.